societies are made up of this. This is called Voter Education 101. So we've got 60 million people in South Africa. About 40 million is eligible to vote. Voting meaning is that everybody's got the right to choose. These are the choices. These lines represent what we call manifestos. Every political party, if you want to register a political party, it has changed now. You pay like 500,000 rand, and you must make sure you at least have 1,000 people that support you. You can establish your own political party. Alright, so now you're registered as a political party. The first thing that you have to do is a manifesto. What does a manifesto do? It explains your position regarding social dynamics. Social dynamics are included in like this in our society. The society decides there's a position on education, there's a position on finance, there's a position on health. In the world, we have got these indicators like security, like economics, like finance. So that means every political party design and they express their position. So the Red Party says, in terms of education, that's where we are. In terms of finance, this is where we are. In terms of security, this is where we are. With that, they go to the voting stations. So with 40 million people, 400 people is going to Parliament, and I'll get to that now. That means they will represent the people. So that means approximately every 1,000 votes you get, there's one seat in Parliament. Because you multiply that, you see that you've got like 40, you get to your 41. So about 1,000 votes that you need to get a seat in Parliament. We go to the voting stations, parties based on the manifestos vote for their favorite party. Not on what they say, on what they document that they are standing for. Because they might stand for this in terms of education, but they speak something else. Alright, so with that in mind, there are 400 people going to Parliament. Right now, the ANC has got the majority, they've got like 260 of these seats. The EFF, they've got like 26. The DA, they are bigger than that, they've got like 80, I think they've got like 80 seats. But there's a breakdown of number of seats. And that's the percentage, so they've got like, if they've got like 51%, more than half is coming there. If they've got 10%, like 40 seats, 20 seats. DA has got 26%, so they've got like 80 seats. So you can work it out. So these people are now arriving at Parliament. Now Parliament, not all of them will become ministers. So what Parliament does is, Parliament breaks this up into structures. So Parliament says, all right, we are the final group. But Parliament has got like, there are provinces. And the provinces, and there are traditional leaders. House of traditional leaders. So we've got like a funny combination of structures inside. But then in Parliament to operate, each one of them has got like committee structures. That's the 400 seats. So that means it's like a business organization. You've got people serving on this committee, on that committee, on that committee, on education, finance. And you can see what happens is that if you only got 26 and you need to be there, then you're running out of seats. That means you will have no input into that debate. So committee structures is part of the process. So now, this is how the process goes. So the question is why did I do this? The whole purpose of Parliament and the election and this structure is to end up in social boundaries. What does that mean? Social boundaries is that there are three parties. One is there, one is there, one is there. Somewhere they need to debate to say, can we agree to be close to this position here? That will become a social boundary, and social boundaries are then documented and called acts. What does that mean? Society agreed that stepping outside this line is an offense. Staying inside is good. Your party might be like radical there. If the boundary is there, that's the rule. Can you step out because you support the party? No. You have to stay within the social boundary. So the purpose of Parliament is to establish the social boundaries by using the 400 people that can vote. What's the process like to get the act in place? The process is the following. First step, there should be some research on public need, like education. You then approach your parliamentary, either through the party, or anybody can then come forward to say, I want this research, public need. We normally document that and call that research document. So those research documents starting to circulate. Everybody sees them. If that is submitted to a department or some of the government structures, it's starting to turn into what is called the green paper. Green paper meaning is that we looked at the research, we can see that there's something emerging that could become or affect our boundaries. So the green paper is normally prepared by a department. That green paper is the process that I showed you on the cycle that's going through all these structures. It's starting to float through these structures. First test the field, because now you're testing, because you're not going to waste time. If you find that there's a lot of support for that green paper, you turn this into a bill. A bill is now like emerging from that research, emerging from a position to say, convert that into a boundary. That document is called the bill. It goes through the whole process again, and all these processes are public involvement. So we as public can comment on every single process. Why? We nominated the 400 presenting us, we have to agree to our social boundaries. That's how life should be. Interesting, huh? Once the bill is through the process, is finally tabled to Parliament, and Parliament, with all 400 members, will have vote, and they vote yes, no, change. Either approve, or they decline, or they change. That's the main purpose of Parliament. So all the shows that the political parties are putting up during the greeting session, like, good morning guys, how are you doing? You know, then there's a whole fight and security coming in and all that. Because when we get into the voting process, numbers count. If you don't have the numbers, it's better they throw you out of the party beforehand, and nobody can blame you not trying to put your position. Otherwise, you are defeated. That means you lost. You cannot keep on losing. It's better to be thrown out of that party than, would you like to get a beating on your eye every time you go to a party? No. You'd rather not go to a party. Am I right?
Yeah.
That's the same with politics. So before they get to that, but this is the process of getting there. But social boundaries does not stay rigid. There are times that we say, no, education should move there. The need for our education maybe is now new. We need to move education there. The process of moving that is called review. Like any review process, but you start the process again with that, and now this bill is changes to existing. That means which paragraph should be deleted and which one should be added. So it's changing the wording of the act. So now that bill is carrying all the changes of the act you want to make. And that's called a review process, the same process again, going through the whole process again, and then you got Amendment Act. And that goes through the same process. If that's approved, it's an act that's amended. My colors. So that's Amendment Act. Be careful. Only acts are done by Parliament. Once this is now, let me explain the rest of the operation, because once you've got the social boundary, what then happens is the ruling party appoints cabinet. So cabinet is not Parliament. Cabinet is the number of ministers, and now they are called ministers appointed to oversee social boundaries. So now I appoint a minister for education, a minister for, that means that is the political head going to that sector of the economy and making sure that the act is implemented. Now, how does that work? So cabinet contains ministers. Right now we've got like 23 ministers, and that's what they're trying to eliminate, minimize. All of them has got deputy ministers, so you can see we got like 80 already, just like on that. And I'm not even like the added ones, like electricity and all that. The problem is that at the ministerial level, you need to have an office. That means there's staff. but they're all political. But to support the minister, you can see that the minister, he's not a specialist in finance or in education. He's just a person selected to oversee that social boundary. He is normally supported or advised by advisory committees. We've got that in safety, it's got an advisory committee, we've got it in education, we've got advisory committees. So we've got advisory structures everywhere. What is advisory structures? Advisory committees are permanent, non-political specialists. And they're coming from labor, unions, specialists, and society. That's the board, advising the minister, are you right or are you wrong? With that structure, the minister has got the right to do regulations. Regulations does not go to parliament. Regulations are done inside the department. Once the act is allocated, this minister makes regulations to how to implement. He doesn't have to go back to parliament. Surely if the regulations are way out, somebody will complain in the structures about it. Okay, so regulations and like rules and like local policies. Local policies like alcohol licenses and things, you're not going to take that to parliament. It's all in regulations. Regulations are documents and like your rules, like where to put the parking meter, where you can park. You can't take that to parliament. That's within the regulation right at that level. But this is outside, and these regulations and act are then implemented through a department. Of specialists. These are permanent government structures. All of these structures, like in safety, include right to the worker level. That means company level, etc., 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 down. Whether you're doing like employment, whether you're doing like safety, doesn't matter what you're doing. All of them are right to the lowest level. People have got the right, and they are regulated. Why? They agreed to a process where this act allowed this to happen. So what's your question now?